Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of The Block Sauce, your weekly web show that serves up the juiciest discussions in the world of Web3 and gaming culture. I'm your host and Rain FT ambassador, Jim Kieran, and today we've got an incredible panel lined up for you guys. So grab your controllers, crack open a Red Bull, and prepare to get your game on. All right, how's it going, everybody? We got Dub, Casey from Sedona, and Jorge with us today.
Yo, 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 yo. I am excited for today's show. We got some awesome guests coming up. We got some juicy topics that are already behind the scenes. I was already battling Dub, and Dub had no responses to what I was saying. So
What?
I'm ready.
Wow.
We're like
I'm not the
second,
noob here.
I think we're like the second or third show in Web3 to introduce PvP between Web3 players.
Where's my wolves at?
I was about to say, Wolves was the first one that came to mind. Unfortunately, we don't have Sinjin, who's like our big heavy carry, but Casey might be able to do some work for us today.
I like Sinjin. He's hilarious.
He's like my favorite player in the space. Oh man,
he has a lot of energy. He's great.
He is.
I could see Sinjin, like I see so many characteristics in him and me, in like the sense of like where I'll be in 20 years. Like just I'll say it how it is, kind of how I am now. I have no filter. Like I think that's why I love it.
So he's Web3's role model, essentially.
He really is. He's like the dad model too.
I mean, we need more voices like his in the space. Let's be honest. We like to hype a lot of things up, and sometimes we lose a little bit of footing with reality. And he likes to grab our feet and slam us back down to planet Earth. So I feel like voices like that are desperately needed to keep us with level heads, because I don't want to be a moon boy.
Yeah, definitely right back at, and getting to work with Sinjin too. He's so dynamic and demanding, and it really, I've seen him go on a lot of different strategies very quickly. And to top it off with my Sinjin role model prep, like I just love the guy.
He's great. So today they already kind of announced the topics, but we may end up winging it a little bit based on the discussion before we fired up the channels. We'll save the gaming stuff for last. So if you're here for the Grand Saga and Dead Drop, we'll hold off a little bit, make you wait. But obviously, the big news right now, Judge just ruled that XRP is not a security. I don't know about you guys, but that's a pretty big signal for me, because this we've seen it before where they did label something as security and it started snowballing. So now I feel like we're going to see the reverse effect where XRP isn't labeled as security, and it's going to snowball to where the rest of them start getting that status removed as well. What do you guys think?
I mean, first of all, it's a huge win for the space, right? I think we've been wanting some sort of guidance for years, right? And I think right now there's several things that are up in the, I would say in the kitchen right now, kind of like being cooked up versus we had this ruling, we have the ETFs, the Bitcoin ETFs, we have just several different things right now that are like finally getting some traction on, hey, like we've been crying for this for several like years. I want to say since I've been in Web3, we've been crying about guidance and everything. So this is great to hear. Now, this is also a part where I think every game developer founder that has tokens, have sold equity, private tokens and everything, is going to the drawing board right now and saying, hey, how do we do this the correct way? Are we going to work with exchanges only? And if it is, like, how do we work with exchanges? Which, that's a whole different other topic, because, we're talking about retail now being able to buy like a VC. And, one of the biggest issues has always been how VCs dump on retail. And so like there's just a lot of things still uncertain, but it's great to have at least like some sort of foundation that we have been able to track and watch this whole XRP unravel since day one to where we are today to say, okay, I get kind of some of these things that are being said right now.
I agree with that 110%. KCW, you guys got anything to add?
Yeah, I feel
I
it.
just think this.
Go for it.
No, go ahead, Casey.
No, I just think that the SEC's been on their high horse for like multiple years, and they bit off a huge chunk when they took on the SEC. And my friends in the legal world, like when they look at the team that like the XRP brought on, like they were like they don't have a chance to win. Like they brought on heavy hitters. I mean, the SEC realized that. They got passed on to the Nixon administration. They were kind of had a headache, and you look at like what they've done the last few years. They've done like hardly any like similar I'd say enforcements. They've been doing much like smaller weird things where they kill coins by doing some type of enforcement action or saying that like we think this is security without actually saying it is, and then that coin will just tank and die. Like how many like death stones do we have because of that? So I think they're asleep at the wheel. I mean, we have like a huge industry here. Like we're trying to drive forward in the U.S. and there's no direction. Like how many projects want to do a safe regulatory coin and they can't right now because there's just zero clarity, and that's a huge issue.
And the thing is, I actually asked a game project about this, right? And I was like, you guys have lawyers, right? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, well, can't you just consult them to get the answer? And they're like, that's the problem. The lawyers don't know either, because there's never been any clarified guidance on what we need to do to make sure we adhere to regulation and the law and all that stuff. And like you said, every time that they even think, like they just go, oh, we think this might be a security, boom, token go down 100%. And it's definitely having a huge impact on the markets. They shouldn't have that type of influence, but here we are. So if the lawyers don't know and there's no clear cut guidance being provided, nobody knows what to do for sure. It kind of begs the question, how can you even enforce this when the lawyers, again, do not know the answer? Like, how do you have a legal system where the people involved with it don't even have the answer to give us, and we're paying these people for the answers to begin with?
Yeah, exactly. That's where we need what's happening now to kind of happen. We need precedent to be set. And like for me, I think what's really important is the next 3 months in this quarter and how it shakes up and how many templates or models follow that and allow precedent to be set. So now we have that kind of like this one to do it. And I just hope that through the power of many and other examples, that it sets a precedent that can be used as a template, that thing can go mainstream and we can, move on from this part of the market.
And I think at the end of the day, we know, like, this is a win for Web3 gaming, but like at the end of the day, we know that tokens and games, the way that it was put together and done, don't make sense, right? I think there's maybe less than a handful of games that maybe a token makes sense. And I say less than a handful, probably less than a hand that makes sense. But like, again, it's just, we never saw a proper economy, right? And so like having more guidance for what they're trying to build, maybe now we'll see something. But even that, again, we're so early in Web3 gaming, like we don't have the users yet to be able to support any of these economies.
And even then, it feels like people aren't figuring out economies. I don't know how closely you guys have been following Gala, but you would think, at least me as a gamer, that any game under Gala's umbrella would be using Gala's token, right? Apparently that is not the case, and each game is coming out with their own token on top of the fact that there's a Gala token, and it feels like that's the complete wrong direction to me. I kind of looked at it like almost like Riot points, right? Imagine if I bought Riot points in League of Legends, but all my extras that's left over, I could use them in Valorant. That's kind of the direction I thought we were supposed to be going, and we're not even going that way. So do you guys think that we're still going to see a big shift, or do you think that we're just going to keep hammering away at the wrong way first to see if we can make it the right way?
I mean, that's the part of being early, right? Like the first movers, right? We always said, like, we have to learn from somebody moving first to be able to fix what they've done. And hopefully, they fix their own thing to keep going. Yeah, I think like the situation at Gala is, I mean, I'm a fan of what they've built. I'm a fan of like the whole ecosystem, quality games. It just, again, like we just haven't figured out the economy situation just yet, because I don't think they have enough users and the games are still early, right? Like, they're still in beta in a lot of the stuff. So it's hard to be like, it's hard to sustain a token. It's hard to sustain everything that they're doing. I think, again, like this conversation in 3 years, when we are more of a mainstream and its gaming is more understood, this might make sense. And Gala
100%.
might be the pioneer, or the one that everybody says, hey, this is the blueprint on how to build an ecosystem of games within, like, let's just say the Disneyland of Disney, right? Like this might be it, right?
I mean, if they maybe make it to where I can trade Gala for the game native tokens, there's a little bit of a bridge there, but you're just adding extra fluff at that point.
Well, that's where I was going to go, is like, I mean, we've watched Gala now pivot in a couple ways, right? So like, I still think there's room for them to pivot and to kind of fulfill a hybrid of what you want to see, Jim Karen, and what they can pull off crypto wise. And I'm hoping to see that, and to see more of this like building and pivoting based off their community feedback.
Well, I'm just saying, so we got Casey here with Sedona with us, right? So imagine if the Sedona had their own token. I'm not sure if that's actually the case, but let's say you guys did, right? Imagine if all the games, instead of all building their own economy, their own ecosystem, they all have to get their own token, whatever, they could just all build off of the Sedona token. And then all of a sudden, all I got to do is buy Sedona, and I can buy whatever I want across the entire ecosystem of Sedona capable games, right? That's kind of what I was expecting from Gala. That's what I wanted to see. But now, they just had that Western one. I forget the name of it. Don't hate me, guys, but I'm not a Western gamer. So like Red Dead
Voxy,
2.
like the Voxy, right?
I'm not sure. But yeah, they just announced their own token. And I was like, why aren't you using Gala's? Why does every game need to have their own token?
I know we keep on saying this that we're early, but like, if you remember a relic called Engine, I think ENJIN.
Yeah.
Like they were really ahead of their time, like way, way ahead of the time. And they tried to get all the games to build their early games on their coin, and really struggled. So, I kind of, I know that like you can kind of like relate different technologies, but like there was a really difficult moment when like 3D image software was like fighting over like what was the standard. And then Apple came out with their standard, and then everyone's like, "Oh, okay," and like that was the new standard. So
True.
I don't know if like Gala has that power to be like, "Hey, like there's so much benefit to just building here, the build here." For Sedona, like I think it'd be hard for a game exchange to say, "Hey, like if you build on our coin, like there's lots of benefits for the players." I think there's a lot of interesting things we can do with like incentivizing players to play different games using a marketplace, but to get everyone to rally on one coin, like historically, has been pretty hard unless there's like a really strong benefit to win.
I think again, the issue has always been if the token goes up, will it outprice people, customers, clients to wanting to get in, right? Like, if the Sedona starts at 10 cents and it catches fire, and then all of a sudden it's $5, like, will it really be a way to play games, right? And I think this is why we haven't been able to find. This is why, like, the arcade centers of arcades, right? Like, it's a reason why you just take a token that it's the same value as the 25 cents or whatever it is, and you go play that game. So essentially, what we're doing, maybe it should just stay that USDC is USDC, and you go into the Sedona platform. If you ever do that, like, hey, and it's equivalent to that on the back end, it converts to whatever their token is. But I don't know, there's so many questions still left to go on something like that.
Well, there is.
Yeah, Jorge.
Oh, go for it.
I was just gonna say, like, I worked when I was in San Francisco. I worked in a lot of co-working spaces, and I got to work next to a few like friends who had like crypto startups during the ICO rage. And like one of them was, this is really, really early when Dogecoin came out, and the other one was another like now dead coin. But like I could literally tell I could tell the coin price based on the mood of the office. Like You didn't have to like tell me if the price was down or up. It could just tell me when it was up. They were like champagne celebrating. Everyone's like, "We're gonna be billionaires." The next week I was like, "Price must be down," and they were just like, just dead. So like, I think it's changed now. I think that like there's been so many like crashes and bulls and all that going on right now that like it's a little bit different. I think that maybe the expectations are different. But yeah, I think games and companies need to be careful when they're thinking through this because if you're telling founders are telling rest of the employees and the community they're going to make all this money, it's like maybe for a few months. Like how many of us have like bought into a coin because we believed into it and now we're like, oh, that didn't work out.
Yeah, but
we're all shaking our head.
There's just one thing to note with this. Now, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not going to pretend to be a legal specialist, but I believe that this ruling does not absolve tokens that use staking mechanics. So that's something that games should probably consider because I know that a lot of them still have staking. And I believe that that was one of the qualifiers that caused a lot of those tokens to be labeled as securities. So yeah, just some food for thought there. Don't start everybody re-enabling staking.
Well, I mean, you still have the U.S. that's still like,
well, at least in the U.S., yeah, the U.S. is the only one picky about that.
Yeah.
But
Jorge's thinking about his Dookie Dash and all his ApeCoin that's all staked right now.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I had so many NFTs staked, and then that came across my feed, and I was like, oh man, either they're gonna remove it or I'm gonna have to pull out, one or the other. And unfortunately, it looks like most projects just shut down staking instead, so I didn't have to really do anything. That being said, though, next up on the list, we got Threads, which I don't know if you guys, I know Jorge's over there flexing. I started up Threads the second it came out. Like I got the little pre-order notice or whatever from my iPhone and was like, boom, installed, account created, ready to go. My feed is already like on point. Like their algorithm, in my opinion, is terrifying. I had only followed specific individuals. Wow. I didn't import my whole following from Instagram or anything like that. And already my feed is all video games, Web3, and animal videos. That's all I need. I'm happy. I love the algorithm.
Yeah, I mean, look. Threads, I think people are saying it's not going to be a competitor. It is a competitor. I will tell you one thing. I think Threads will get it done correctly. Again, you look at the process of most of the social media apps that Meta has put out on the way they've done it. This was an easy sign on, right? Like so easy that my mom could do it, right? And that's like the biggest thing, right? Now that my mom is on, she's learning slowly how to use it. Now, next week when they introduce videos, spaces, all that. Now my mom will be able to learn the next step. It's not all at once where people get flustered and they're like, oh my God, I don't know. I just pressed this button and oh my God, I'm on a space. Oh my God, I'm live right now on Facebook and I don't even know how I'm live. Like you have to understand that the way they onboard is not only like the correct way, it's little by little. It's like a trickle effect that you kind of learn and go and become a master or professional of that app. And so I think what Threads is doing is just that right now, because we know that Elon is going to turn on the ads whenever he's ready to turn on the ads. And when that happens, I mean, like this thing is going to really like fucking, like it's going to be like gasoline being poured on a fucking fireplace. And so, and we all know that people buy ads from Instagram on a daily basis because it's a fucking huge revenue source. Whereas on Twitter, no one's buying any ads, especially in Web3 Twitter, where it's like, hey, you want to buy the scam of a coin? But anyways, I think Threads it has it correct. Now, for us in gaming, like I think this is a perfect opportunity for all gaming projects, all gaming users, all gaming audiences to be able to go on and connect with people we haven't been able to connect with because we've been in the Web3 space before gaming and have already like a stigma about who we are because of what we do, right? Because I could tell you, like, I was at this past weekend, I was at an event and they're like, you're still in that crypto thing, right? And I'm like, yeah, I'm still in that crypto thing. And he's like, oh, how's that going? And I'm like, it's going really good, especially like in gaming. Oh God, gaming, crypto. So I was like, yeah. But now if I'm able to introduce gaming first, the way that we're supposed to introduce it into Threads, into the community that once, like if you look at your Facebook and Instagram following, you might be able to get very new users that want to learn more about our space, especially now that we've matured. And again, we've been screaming for users, right? In Web3, we've been asking for more users, more gamers. Well, this is the opportunity to really kind of bring on a new audience onto your platform. And if you do the language correctly, if you tell the people correctly what you're doing, and you don't go shill NFTs and crypto, and you say, hey, I'm in gaming and we have fucking fun games and cool games, then you're going to probably get some new users that you probably will help you. Even content creators that are on the space from the other space that don't want to come to the web, to Twitter. We know many people hate Twitter. That's just the bottom line, right? And we know there's Twitter maxis at the end of the day that will say Twitter is king and like we're not going to go to Threads. At the end of the day, if you are in a business like all of us four here, it's very essential that we're on all these social medias, at least creating some sort of content to be able to keep pushing what we're doing.
You guys have anything to add to that? I mean, he kind of nailed it on the head.
Yeah, I feel like you're a thread maxi there, buddy.
Hey, what's up, Thread Maxi Jorge? Good to see you. So tell me, Jorge, what is the best strategy right now for a game or a gaming content creator on Threads? Am I posting daily videos, photos? What should I be doing?
You're posting a thread that starts with some crazy statement and then says, and here's a thread, and then you don't post anything below it.
You do an announcement of an announcement, okay? You say this is an announcement for the announcement.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny you guys bring this as the options because that is what everyone's doing. They're using Threads as the place to be trolly, where they, for whatever reason, didn't feel comfortable doing that in Twitter. I don't know what is up with that, why it's that way. It's a cultural thing.
It happens on Twitter too. You just got to wait for the new features. Like, remember that whole the whole now you can choose who can comment on your tweet thing? Dude, I had so many posts like, oh, if you can comment on this, then you can follow me or something like that, right? And then the comments were locked for everybody, so nobody could comment on it anyway. So it happens, believe it or not, on Twitter. It's just when it's new, everybody wants to jump on the new thing immediately and start abusing it, right? And I feel like that's what we're seeing on Threads is, yes, unfortunately, there are a lot of troll threads, but generally speaking, my feed, like I just jumped on right now and I'm scrolling through it. Yes, I have it on computer. If you need a guide, I can probably hit you up. And I got like Tim the Tap Man, World of Warcraft, some Web3 creators. I don't have any troll posts. And I think that's because I've been on Facebook, I've been on Instagram. They've got me pinned in their algorithm. They know what I'm looking for throughout all their ecosystem, and that carried over to Threads. That's why I think there is such power behind Threads right now, is because they have these many years of data on all of their users that are coming from Instagram and Facebook, that it's curated a lot better. Whereas I was just complaining a week or two ago on Twitter about my For You page because I had 3 videos in a row of people dying. And I mean straight up dying. I watched a woman reach her hand into a paper roller and get sucked into it and wrapped around the paper roller on Twitter. This is content I do not want. It is not good for my mental health. And no matter how many times I tell Twitter I am not interested in it, I still get fed the same freaking crap. I went over to Threads the first day and everything I want is right there. I didn't have to hide anything. I haven't had to block anybody yet. I've had no toxicity or issues. It just works, and it works better for me personally.
Yeah, and again, we're still early in it, right?
Exactly.
And so as things like evolve, as Meta evolves, I mean, I'm sure there's going to be ways to integrate between your Facebook. Look, what's the user right now for Threads, right? At the end of the day, it's already surpassed 100 million. What is it?
It's past 100 million.
Yeah. I mean, that is wild.
Yep.
Right? Wild. And if you look at
I think that
go for it.
I think that there's like a huge opportunity. Like if they do this and kind of kill Daddy Musk, like I don't know. I think he has some trick up his sleeves, but I do think that there's like absolute I don't want to like move the subject, but there's complete turmoil going on over Reddit, right? Like all Redditors are livid at Spaz and the CEO, and like he's just so focused on this IPO that he's just doing crazy stuff. And like there is no other like place for folks that do Reddit things to go to. And if Facebook has a pathway to, like, hey, we know how to moderate, we know how to do certain, whatever it is, then I don't know. I think that they need to be careful because a new player could come in and take over. And it's always said that, right? Like when you have these like huge like companies that have like they have so much control and they have so much power and they can't like break into other areas like Twitter. It's like if Facebook can prove it can do it, why would it stop? Like why would it stop and not go take over Reddit or do another one? Or someone could come in and take over Reddit, for example.
Well, keep in mind, Threads also has a decentralized element because it can be tied into Mastodon. So I'm just saying, like, if we're Web3 maxis and we love Web3 and decentralization, it sounds like they're kind of going a route that we should all be willing to support.
Yeah, and especially like I bought NFTs on Instagram and then had a much better integration than Twitter's ever had. So like I've already seen better, and that was all on Polygon and everything. Bought it through the story, used my debit card, like the whole nine, like they've already been there and done that and figured it out. And I just feel bad for social media managers because like Twitter and Threads are two similar products, and now you have to define like your workflow with that. And at least in the past, it was like Facebook felt different than Instagram strategy, felt different than Twitter strategy. And like you could think differently with each one, but I don't think you can think differently with Threads and Twitter. I think it's too similar of a product.
No, you can't. I mean, you just eliminate the crypto and NFT stuff on Threads, where on Twitter you could still say it. On I think there's still a life that in Twitter where crypto and NFTs is kind of like, if you see Web3 gaming as a Web3 gamer, you'll be like, ooh, I want to follow this, right? Because it's in your industry or your silo as a Web3 gamer. But on Threads, you don't have to say Web3. You could just say gaming. And you might be able to kind of like figure out ways to communicate between two worlds that you would essentially want in the future to be on one world.
Well, that's the thing about Twitter.
Okay, I appreciate all of my like scam messages I get on Twitter. I like knowing that I have to protect myself every single day. All right.
Well, here's the thing though, like, so the whole tie-in with Mastodon, to me, so when I first started using Twitter for business stuff, right, I have an if this then that account. For those that aren't aware of what that is, it allows me to automate things using Twitter's API. I can, like, if I tweet something, I can have it repost to Facebook, or if I go live on Twitch, I can have it tweet out automatically that I'm live, stuff like that. Well, ever since Musk went and started obviously making big changes to the API, charging crazy fees, etc., we've seen a lot of those tools kind of disappear and go away. So we're losing a lot of our cross-platform functionality. Threads is like, no, like, let's just natively integrate outside platforms. Like, why do all the social medias need to be segregated? Why can't we start, having them communicate? And I think that's a big deal that people might need to talk about more, because for the first time we're seeing two social media platforms with a form of interoperability that's going to enable people on one platform to still have discussions and communications with people on a whole separate platform. So all of your following that you've built, say, on Facebook, you don't have to constantly jump between Twitter and Facebook, for example, and repost, like Jorge was saying earlier, keeping the content going on all these different platforms when they can just talk to each other and be shared natively. So I think that there is definitely some power to be had here. I think Threads is onto something. Whether or not they continue to expand that out and start to incorporate more platforms, because obviously we've got like Blue Sky and Hive and all these other social media platforms that came out of nowhere when Twitter sold out, or whatever you want to call it. So I that's kind of where I'm coming from the technology side. I'm looking at what Threads is doing on the back end. I know they don't have GIFs and videos and spaces and all that stuff yet, but I kind of like Jorge's take where we're introducing these features over time, so an audience doesn't get overwhelmed. Because if I try to convince my parents, for example, to come to Twitter, they've been Facebook for years. They know how to use Facebook. All the features came out while they were using it, so they have an understanding of everything. But getting them to move to Twitter, it's like, what do you mean I have a character limit? Well, what do you mean I can only post a 2-minute video? Like, they get confused all of a sudden because all these new tools and these new limitations are introduced that they never experienced before, and they're just like, no, I don't want to touch it. So they just stick with Facebook and never leave. I think that having the ability for me to talk to my parents without having to jump to Facebook would be freaking phenomenal in the future, because I hate Facebook. But I don't know. That's just kind of how I'm looking at it, is the technology side and the fact that we are seeing interoperability within Web 2 finally.
Agreed.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of time, really. I think we're early, and we're gonna see some really cool shit happen. And like Casey was saying, like, it's gonna be great to see what Elon does, right? Look, Elon's an innovator, right? Like, we know that. Like, he's not staying behind on this. I'm sure he's got some sort of idea already, like, in the works. I'm sure there's something. It's just, I think it's actually even better for Twitter, because it kind of like starts that fire of like, hey, we need to figure something out. Like, we're losing too many people. Like, how do we retain? And what do we need to do? Maybe we start listening to our customers for once, you know?
Or hey, will this finally allow you to close down your Truth Social handle?
Wow.
Jorge didn't say you need to be everywhere.
You said you need to be everywhere.
Everywhere.
That's so good. I wonder, I hope to see Zuck and Elon compete on the Web3 tech in these apps and see what, if that happens. I mean, they literally have both dabbled in it and have both launched things around it. So now what's next? And do they care to be forward in leading Web3 tech in their apps?
We literally have multi-$100 million companies from employees on both of their teams now, building other companies. It's they've a lot of smart people worked on those projects and now doing interesting things in Web3.
100%. I don't know. Is the fight still going on? Are they still actually gonna have a fight throwdown? I want to see it.
I don't know, but I'll tell you one thing. My boy Zuck, that picture he posted, yo, I was like, okay, someone's been dieting. All right. Someone's been like, yo, he's like,
dude, I saw a picture of Zuck, and I'm not gonna fuck with Zuck. Nope.
No. All I know is Elon better hire somebody just as good or better than, I don't know. I don't even know who he could hire, but he needs to hire somebody.
I want Bezos versus Zuck. That's a real competition there. Bezos has been focusing on his arms. You see those muscles?
His arms and his ladies. I mean, I think Bezos is doing something else too.
Oh, Coachella was so cringe.
That's why I'll see on the block sauce, guys.
I don't know about that whole situation. All I know is I've seen because obviously, for whatever reason, we gauge people by their neck as a sign of how strong they are. And I'm looking at Zuck's neck versus Bezos' neck, and I think Zuck could snap his pretty easily.
No, now I gotta start doing them.
That was my main
I saw a funny
wonder.
tweet where someone
gotta make my neck bigger.
I saw a funny tweet where someone was saying that they put their money with the person that looks like they haven't left the office for a few weeks.
So that's what I wonder, if they really got brutal in this fight and to the point where it's one might cause harm to the other, would people do anything, like the guards, or would we just if I was a guard in that situation, I might just let it happen?
I mean, if they're fighting in Rome, if they actually do the Rome Coliseum or whatever, if they actually do that, I think it should be a fight to the death.
Yeah.
Well, if they take it to the death, do you stop these guys from fighting to the death?
Or we can make it winner takes all. Whoever wins gets the other person's social media platform.
Bro,
that's what the world wants.
This is just like Gladiator, where you get to do the thumbs up, thumbs down. If you know what I'm saying?
I'm just saying, if the fight starts and Zuck just walks up and one taps Musk and he hits the ground, finish it.
Look,
just finish it. It's not even worth my time.
Look, I think we will know if it's one of Floyd Mayweather's referees. We know that the fight's gonna get.
Oh wow!
Right? We know that the fight's not gonna go through all the way. But if it's not one of Floyd Mayweather's referees, then we might actually see a real fight and see somebody actually get.
Oh my God! All that aside, obviously we got a lot moving in this space. It's kind of insane. I mean, earlier this week, I was like, man, I don't know what to talk about. Everything's slow. And then throughout the week, it's just been news article. I'm like, crap. Well, now I got too much to pick from. What are we going to talk about? So
I think that's how it is in this Web3 space. I think it's very I always tell people, you take a day off in this space. It's like you took a year off, right?
Yep.
And trying to catch up on anything. And this is a great example, right? Like if you take a day off in Web3, think about the next day between Telegram, between Discord, between Twitter, between what else do we have? WhatsApp, like all these damn applications that we have to talk on because of Web3, because it's like we're all over the place. This is why Threads might be the great invention that you'll be able to be all on one and talk to everybody you want to talk to. So
I would love to see it. I used to use, I don't know if you guys remember back in the day of chat clients, because back in my day, some of my friends were on AIM, some of my friends were on MSN, some of my friends were on freaking whatever. Like there was a bajillion different messaging platforms, right? I loved that I had this one called Pigeon. And what Pigeon did was it was a single messenger that I could connect all of my other messenger accounts to, and I could talk to everybody across every messaging platform ever from one app. And this was like 20 years ago at this point that this app existed, right? Why is it in this day and age, in the era of 2023, do we need 20 bazillion different apps just to talk to the same people?
Well, welcome to Web3. I mean, have you seen all the exchanges and fucking all the things that we have to just do one thing? So
why do we need 20 million cryptocurrencies? I just want my one global currency.
Yeah. We're early. I guess we could just use that as an excuse.
But if we were,
This is a good segue to the ETF.
Yeah.
The ETF. Oh, fill me in. What I miss?
Go, Jorge.
Bitcoin ETF. I mean, I think this is another way of being all on one, everybody finally being able to trade, right? I mean, I think it's been an issue since day one that crypto has always been on its own exchanges, and you see a lot of retail. And when I say retail, I'm talking about like on the other side that has never been able to trade crypto because of the complications of setting up a wallet, seed phrase, and all that stuff, and everything you have to do. Now being able to trade. I mean, if you have BlackRock, and you have, what was the other one? BlackRock, all these bigger names coming in and wanting to have an ETF. I mean, like, this is really going to open the floodgates. And here's the thing to it. Like, you have to understand how people really, like, go down rabbit holes, right? Like, this is one that will make people go down a rabbit hole because, like, okay, what is this new ETF? Let me read about Bitcoin before I invest in it. Holy shit, like, this thing it's super volatile. People like to gamble. We know that for a fact, right? We've seen history repeat itself in a lot of ways. And if they think it's a super volatile, they're able to trade it. It's easily done through a brokerage exchange. This is going to be, again, another way to all of us be on that one platform that we say. Yeah. So it's an exciting time for what we've been waiting for.
So I'm not.
It's a huge moment. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, I'm not familiar with ETFs. This is new terminology for me. But I'm looking at it, and I think you were talking about Fidelity, BlackRock and Fidelity.
Yeah. And which are one of the largest ones in the United States. And there's a ton of more that have applied and been denied. And so at the end of the day, like if you look at for those that have Web2 jobs that even have like 401ks and you talk to your financial advisor and wanting to get into crypto and they haven't been able to. They finally are going to have a vehicle to be able to get into this space.
I got somebody at the door.
And so, yeah, I mean, I think like this is, again, just a very exciting time to be in. I can't tell you, we've been waiting years for this. This isn't something that's been happening for like the past 30 days or 6 months. We're talking about 4 plus 5 plus
decade.
Of wanting to be finally recognized almost in a sense.
If it wasn't a bear market, this would be like I feel like this would be almost a bigger deal. Like I think it's good that it's happening during the during a bear market, but
I'm back, guys.
Yeah,
I got goodies.
I think what's interesting about the ETF is go ahead. What'd you get?
Go for it.
I think what's really interesting about the ETF is the change of like conversation, right? BlackRock was like, this thing's the biggest scam in the world, right? Like, and then you fast forward to like, this is digital gold, guys. This is like, we need this, and like they're pushing for this ETF. But I also think it's important, like Coinbase taking custody of this. Like, I think like the pathway we look at how to get to the ETF, like Coinbase being a publicly traded company is like a huge sore into the SEC. It's a huge sword that they're constantly bugging them to make regulatory and to make decisions so the rest of us can get moving forward with all of our jobs. But like, I think the fact that the ETF had like, it's like, let's go to a public traded company, get custody. Let's, they're going through this pathway that just like, it follows as something that's normal to them. I don't know if you guys saw this, or Jorge, if you saw this. I mean, I don't follow the markets, but Kathy Wood, like notorious investor, she sold, I think, 130,000 shares of Coinbase yesterday. I think her buy-in was around like $33, $40, right? Like less than in January. So she freaking crushed it. I don't know what it's trading today, but there's a lot of people who want to invest into crypto, and it's like, well, they can invest in Coinbase, right? Like that's the option, right? There really isn't much out there. But I think, like Jorge's saying, like this opens the opportunity for a lot of like family offices, investment offices invest into crypto in a very easier way, and then that's a segue into crypto itself.
Yeah, and I think it's a segue into even further. Like if you go down the rabbit hole and realize what crypto is, of this currency that's able to be used anything around the world and transferred within seconds. People being able to send $1 million to China and it costed 32 cents versus using a bank that you have to go do a wire transfer that has to be only done between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. during your banking hours. That the third party bank has to charge you $30 in order to do this wire transfer, and then the receiving bank gets charged another 15. Like we're talking about like that, and then like you look at like even like these countries like Vietnam or anything that have to trade with like your North America or Central America, like you're making your dollar go, or you're making that currency for them not only available readily more for them, but also giving them more power. And you might be able to also, fix some of the financial situation that we're in some of these countries. So there's a lot of cool things exciting about this, all of it, that like people will go down a rabbit hole. So it's just exciting to be in it right now.
And that's not even including the fact that like you were saying, so think esports, right? When people go to foreign countries, participate, come back home, it's usually months before they receive their payment. Whereas now in Web3, we're seeing payouts happen same day because crypto is just, I don't have to worry about that transaction between banks. I don't have to worry about wire transfers or any of that. It's just I play in the tournament, send my wallet address, get paid. So this is going to simplify a lot of things on a global scale. I feel like we just haven't seen the adoption needed to really reap the benefits just yet.
Okay. Yeah, no, again, we're early. It's exciting. I think it's going to open up floodgates for a lot of things. And I think it's just something that again, will be talked about big time. Mm-hmm. Like Casey said, if this was a bull market, this would have fucking made like Bitcoin hit like 100 grand right now. Yeah, like straight up right now.
Only up.
Yeah, like it would have been a whole different story, right? Yeah, but because we're in a bear, it's good. It's good that we're in a bear because again, you look at crypto's history, right? Like, one of the things that Casey brought up even before was like, BlackRock, JP Morgan Chase, all these guys like, oh, this is just a scam, blah, blah, blah. Now every major bank has a crypto desk trading room, right? Like now every major bank, Visa and MasterCard are investing in blockchain and figuring out ways. Like Venmo and all these like payment processors are figuring out ways. Look at gaming, right? Like we looked at Axie, the way Axie was. Then it came into play, PDE, like all these things. Like gaming in Web3 is repeating everything that crypto did. Of like, hey, it looked like a scam, and now it's like, oh, hey, that's actually really solving something. I didn't understand it. It's just again like. Web2 does a phenomenal job of explaining products because they know how to explain benefits to people. Whereas in Web3, we do a phenomenal job of creating languages that people don't understand and then trying to explain it to you and be like, yeah, like you really need this NFT. And it's like, you mean the skin or you mean the gun or the weapon? Like, or it's a pass? Like, oh, okay.
No, the land. You need the land.
Yeah, like again, you don't talk to your friends and say, hey, I need an MP4 song or wave. I just downloaded this MP3 song. Like you don't say that, and like it's hey, I downloaded fucking whatever the song's name is.
So does with the ETFs and everything? Because I'm going to ask a silly question. This next leads to Ethereum, right? Ethereum ETFs and stuff. then is there like gaming ETFs in the distant future, or where it's like a kind of conglomerate, like an MMO gaming ETF or something like this? Or
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's something like that. I think in the future will more outweigh. I think one step at a time, though, right? I mean, this Bitcoin ETF has been something talked about for over 5 or 10 plus years that we've been looking at this. Ethereum ETF would most likely make sense. That's next, but again, it's just so far away right now.
I just want to set precedents and then go.
You want to say that you said it here first, and so that when it goes live in 10 years, you want to be like, hey, go on the block sauce on July 13th at 2:54 Eastern time. I said gaming ETF. I get it.
No, I said MMO gaming ETF.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, content creators, man.
When the Doge ETF comes, you will know that we've hit something. It's close.
Is that going to include Pepe in a way? Like it's a meme coin?
Eventually, it's got to come. Yeah.
So we're evolving from meme coins to meme ETFs. Is that
meme
really
ETFs.
evolving?
I love it.
Is that? I don't. Is that no? I think that's devolving. I don't think that's evolving. Anyway. But yeah, I'm kind of with you guys. I think gaming is going to be a huge push for the adoption rates, which speaking of, we have 2 really big games right now running play tests. We got Grand Saga Unlimited from Metapixel, and we got Dead Drop from Midnight Society. Dub, I know you've been doing both. I've been all over Grand Saga. I haven't played the new slice for Dead Drop yet. I watched Dub and Bryson playing it, and it looks freaking dope. I can't wait to jump in, hopefully get a little time in this weekend. But the Grand Saga playtest, I cannot shield this game enough. This isn't a shield space, and I'm not normally one to sit there and like jump on a high horse and put a game on a pedestal. But for the first time, as somebody who plays a lot of MMOs and has played World of Warcraft for probably 20 plus years at this point, it is the first Web3 MMO I am not only logging into daily, but I actually have stuff to do in the game. I am not just farming for NFTs or crypto or any of that stuff. I'm enjoying the game. I'm playing it as just a game. And it's mind-blowing that we're finally starting to see these types of games come out. You know, Dead Drop is another one that I haven't played the new test, but last time I got into Slice, I didn't have to worry about any of the Web3 stuff. It's just playing a fun game, getting together with the boys, maybe, you know, kicking back a few drinks and just popping heads. I'm loving this. I'm loving these games.
It's super interesting. It's a breath of fresh air seeing very active user bases in both of them. I think they also, it's weird though, because there's a lot of similarities between the two also, as far as like development, distribution, the way they're going about it. I think the hard thing for me is that now that I've grinded my 30 to 40 hours in Grand Saga and I've kind of like hit that tip of what they wanted for this playtest, I am running out of content, and it is like the way beyond, especially with Dead Drop 2. Like it's interesting seeing a little bit of a fall off earlier. I heavily compare the snapshots because they do this 3-month pattern. It comes, it launches, and then it has an initial week to 4 weeks of very active daily users, and then they have to be maintained and coerced to come online through tournaments, activations, and things like that. So I'm very intrigued to see like this first week the numbers of Dead Drop and the participation around it. But seeing both of them at the same time it just puts a smile on my face, because like it's constantly people are saying there's not games, there's not gamers, but it's like, dude, just stop saying that and go play the games and you'll see. Like, and these are 2 prime examples.
Exactly.
Correct me if I'm wrong here, is that we're talking about 2 Web 2 studios coming into Web 3, right? And so I think, you know, they've built fun games, they know how to do fun games, and there's a process to the way they release things that doesn't make you bored, in the sense that like, hey, this was only one map, it was good for an hour and that was it. You know, these guys knew that they needed 8 to 12 hours of gameplay that's going to keep you wanting to, hey, I can't wait for next month or in 3 months' release. Whereas I think, like I've said to a lot of the times, is some of these Web3 games don't know, like they get too excited, right? They're like, oh my God, we created another map. Now let's go release it to the public. Yeah. And it's like, oh my God, we created another skin or another gun. Like, let's go release it to the public. And they're like, I get it, but like, I can only do so much going in a circle in a game. It's not going to be that much fun. And so I think, again, like we look at Grand Saga, you look at that drop, Web 2 behind everything that they're doing. There's business plans, marketing plans, there's strategies that are put into place. I can't tell you how many times I get on a conversation with people and I say, what is your marketing strategy? And they look at me and they're like, oh my God, what the hell are you talking about? And I'm like, how many users do you need on your platform in order to be profitable? And they're just like, we got a cool game. And I'm like it's cool to build something cool, but we have to make sure that we're profitable and we're going to produce revenue as a business so that we have a life past this gameplay, right? So I'm excited for everything that they're building.
I'm just ready for all these games to end up on like one consolidated launcher, because my big problem right now is like Metapixel's got their own launcher, Arc World has their own launcher, Big Time has their own launcher, and it's like, guys, I just want one place that I can open, click play, and I'm good. I don't want to have to go to your website, sign into my account, then click play on the website to have it open a separate launcher and then run the game from that launcher. Why are games doing this?
I don't know, man. You've made this comment you're very similar with Gala and with this feeling, and it feels like you want one major, like almost centralized ecosystem to service that in an easy way.
I do.
But
I want one.
But that's not the ethos of this space, and that's why it's never gonna be like that. Because
I don't know, Casey, what do you got for us? What do you come hit us hard? No, bring this thing home.
All these games are pitching the changes to Web3 is that they can be the marketplace and that they don't need a launcher. They can do everything themselves, and that's going to bring in more revenue. I've talked to so many investors that say that's what all the games are pitching to them. I just think that there's so much more closer reality of what's going to happen in Web2 games is going to happen in Web3. And that none of them are thinking about the gamer experience. I'm sorry, but that's the truth, that the gamer experience is they want to go on something like Steam or Epic Games, have one login that is not a crypto wallet, and they can then start playing their games. And I think that someone has to have the guts to build a system that makes it actually works. I think what we have today, as far as like the competitors for marketplaces, you have to have a crypto wallet, and that worked well for NFTs. For NFTs did more good for bringing on like self-custody knowledge into the space than anything else that's come before crypto. But gamers are different. When we do all this research with gamers, like the moment they see Connect Wallet, they're done. Like 99% of them, they're out. And so there's got to be something that's like very simple and easy to go. For us, for Sedona, like this is like our bread and butter, like custody. But even that, like what does a gamer think when they hear custody? They don't care. All they want to know is that like it's a single sign-on. They get on, they play their games, and it has some similar tools that they were used to before. But in the back end, it's quite like busy with everything that's going on, and that's what's so difficult for us to build. That's what we built. But anyway, like it's got to be simple. It's got to be easy. People got to jump on once, start playing the games, and that's it.
And that's me, 100%. But the problem isn't always that I want like one single place to launch games. It's more about I need a list. I have ADHD. I jump from game to game a lot, especially in Web3 space where, we got new games and making announcements every week. We're content creators. We're trying to stay relevant, whatever the case may be. If it is not in a launcher, I will forget it is even installed on my computer. That is how reliant I am on platforms like Steam, Elixir, Epic, Sedona, Hyperplay. Like all these platforms are basically how I even remember that the game is installed on my system. And the big one that comes to mind is Arc World. That was probably the first Web3 MMO that I was like, oh, I'm going to actually put a bit more time into this, right? And I forget it's even installed because for me to access it, I have to go to their website, I have to sign into my account, I have to click login, which then activates the launcher, which opens up. Then I usually have an update. Then I have to click play. And it's like, why all these extra steps? Why couldn't they just launch on Elixir? Because when I open Elixir, I'm already signed into my central account, so to speak, right? I've got all my wallets attached to my main account, and whenever I open a game, it recognizes my Elixir account and my wallets and all that stuff, and automatically ports everything in. It's just like click, click, done. And that's kind of what I want to see is more games relying on platforms like Sedona or Elixir that are doing this to make it easier for us, because I understand where you're coming from, Casey, like what they're saying about it's more profitable for them to do everything themselves. Sure, that might be the case, but you still need to onboard. Profitability only comes if you have users. And a lot of users aren't going directly to your website to download a game. A lot of the users are going to be on these platforms. I will tell you right now, I am much more likely to scroll through like Sedona's launcher, for example, just go down the list of seeing what all games are on their platform than I am going to some aggregate that takes me to a bunch of different game websites to go download, right? That's just my personal opinion. Obviously, every gamer is probably going to be a little bit different. Some of them may not mind direct downloads as much, but
Yeah, and
that's just how
that's
I
where
am.
I'm different, right? Like that's where I'm
Yeah.
downloading all of them, and I have them all on my desktop, and I love to just go across them all, and it keeps me up at night thinking of all the different games, but it is driving me insane at the same time. So maybe I will become like a more of a launcher maxi, like Jake here.
And how do you stay up to date with everything, right? Like this is where I think launchers have an advantage right now, and you think about like how many chains we have, right? And I always say chains are like consoles, right? Like we have the Xbox, the PS5, we have so many of them, right? And they're all building on different things. Like I don't like as a gamer, like they don't care what chain it's on. They just want to play the game. And so if you're able to help with discoverability on the platform between different other chains, then I think you're going to be one step ahead of the game. And I think like we still haven't been able to see that. And if you see that one custodial wallet, like Casey's mentioning, we still haven't really been able to see that be executed just yet with all these different chains. So I think like, man, like there's still an opportunity. Like there's still an opportunity here to be able to take something that like is much needed right now in this space.
Yeah, the way that I actually keep up with all of these games, just so you know, is I have a deep spreadsheet that has columns for literally all of that. I make sure I hit all my Solana ones, all my Poly, and I just, it's all workflow and organization from past history, and it's a job in itself.
That is wild that you have an Excel spreadsheet. You my friend, have taken it to a different level. Jake Kieran's on mute.
I am muted. Yeah, no. So I was saying it's actually not that wild. I started an Excel sheet this week because I was running into the same workflow issue. I was forgetting which games I've already interviewed. I was forgetting which games were on which chain. So I was like, you know what? I got to get my stuff organized. Left a bunch of Discords, left a bunch of Telegrams, started managing my notifications, started the spreadsheets. I've even got a Calendly now. Like, you guys don't. I know you guys don't understand how much of an adult I am now. I have a Calendly that people actually have to go to and schedule meetings with me on now because
I feel like I need to make the list of all these things because that's just my day to day. That's the way I've been operating.
Man. But this is great, like feedback right now, especially like Casey. Like I think this is great feedback because, like, hey man, like, okay, look, these are all the things that gamers are asking for, right? Like a game launcher has not been able to do that yet, right? And like, is there a way to be on a game, like go click on the game and underneath the game, it says, here's the chat Discord. You don't really have to join it, but you could still chat in it, right? I think there's a company that I just talked to a couple weeks ago that allows you to have the Discord interface on a web browser to be able to go into the chat without having to join it, right? Like it's something along the lines like that, which that's a whole different conversation. But like, being able to kind of be able to have that conversation, okay, cool, but like this fits me or doesn't fit me. I don't have to go join like the NFT maxis or the gaming maxis that are in there for that game. Okay, cool. Now like let me go further. Like, there's a place for content creators or like where they're able to see the videos, like the tutorials and all that stuff, all living on one place. Like that's very much needed, right? Like how many of us have to go through the game launcher, then go on YouTube, then like try to figure out like which one is the tutorial because the guys posted so many of them. Like it's a clusterfuck, right? Like almost in the sense, like we have to figure out ways to simplify it. And I think that helps with discoverability back to the original thing. So I don't know. I mean, what are you thinking, Casey? I don't know. You're the one over here, like, with the big guns.
Fix the problems.
It's what we think about every single day. And I think that the pathway to getting folks to play Web3 games, I'm sorry, isn't self-custody. Like, it's just that, like, if we were talking to a group of folks that don't understand Web3, have never even heard of Web3, our marketing director went out to East Texas and got with a Web3 game, had a really good time. Her son came home without any instructions, said, I want to play this game, and sent her a text message that said, what is Connect Wallet? And it's just like, he never played the game again, even though he loved it. He loved this game. He loved this Web3 game, but he never played it because he's like, I don't understand what Connect Wallet means, and just moved on. So, like, yeah, I think I keep on beating this drum, but the thing is that it is difficult. It is difficult to have a custody wallet that can be multi-chain. It's actually very, I don't want to say it's easy, but it's fairly not that difficult to build a system that can integrate into a lot of different blockchains with self-custody. A smaller engineering team can do it. And I think that, like, if you look at, like, it does take guts to be able to build a system that has, like, an engineering team that can do it. And so for us, like, our team comes from BitGo. Like, they've never been hacked. Like the Trust Wallet guys, things didn't turn out too well for them. I don't know if you guys know what happened there, but they lost all their money. They lost the keys. They lost the keys to their wallets. And hundreds of millions of dollars are gone. So it's like custody is a serious business, and so you need serious people that know what they're doing. They understand security. They understand infrastructure, and like, but that's it really for us. It's the only way that we could see, like, building the system. There is MPC. I don't know if you guys are familiar with MPC, but basically MPC is sharding. Sharding is like a term of taking your key phrase and making it into like 7 different pieces. So basically, with the NPC model, the computer owns, let's say, 3/4 of it, and then you own a piece of it. But let's say that you take this computer that you're on now and you want to go play that same game on another computer. Your key's on that computer. And so it becomes difficult for you to kind of move around. So for us, like, NPC was interesting, but like, it was more of a way to circumnavigate like regulation around custody wallets. And so that's where we came back and be like, custody's the way to do it. But again, for the user, they're never going to hear the freaking word custody or wallet. They're just going to see profile page.
Yep.
And then they're going to see like, oh, like, what are these skins that I own? Right. Like, that's the vision that we have. And that's what we're working towards. But yeah, it's going to take some time for us to onboard chain. I mean, for us right now, it takes about 4 months to onboard an L1 chain. EVM we can do in like minutes, but for an L1 chain, it's 4 to 6 months to onboard them. It's a lift.
There you have it, guys. 6 more months, and Casey's gonna say you have the all the chains all in one place, and you'll be able to play all the video games all you want on one launcher.
Maybe.
Hell yeah.
Next week we'll bring on Elixir or Hyperplay onto the show.
No. No.
We gotta keep it saucy, man. We gotta keep it saucy. That's how we get the viewer ratings.
Oh my
man.
god. No, I love the guys over at Elixir and Hyperplay.
Can we do a boxing match with all of them?
There we go. Cage match.
Tell them to choose content creators.
I need motivation.
I'll do it. Any day.
I need motivation. I'll start working out like triple time.
Yeah, I will say though, I think you got everybody beat, Casey, though, because I don't know if Jacob from Hyperplay or Carlos from Elixir will be able to. Maybe Carlos. Maybe he'll get
maybe.
They elect representatives, content creators, as their gladiators, and we will fight for them.
Oh my god!
I want Spike. He seems like he's gritty.
Perfect. Yep. Whoever wants to put me and Spike together, and I will fight. And
as long as it's not a tug of war, because I'll tell you one thing. I hope 3XP is listening to this. I hope Michelle and all those guys that put that together. They put on the most uneven tug of war I've ever seen in my life. They had Dub. First of all, Proof of Pressure is like a monster. He's a Marine. Yeah, he's like 4 times my size. They had Dub, and who else? They had YP versus me, Bryson, and I can't even name my third person because I don't even know like if there was. We lost like every battle. Like I was like, guys, like it was like a semi truck versus an electric vehicle going at it. Like it was no fun. So whoever puts this battle of the game launchers together, make sure they choose properly.
I don't even know how to follow that up other than selling tickets $50 a pop. So
Hey, as long as it's USDC and it's not another token, because then we have to connect the wallet.
crap, you're right. All right, fine.
I said someone died the other day and they had no idea what it was, and I was a little bit offended. I was like, "You don't know what DAI is?" And I guess like a lot of people don't know what it is, but I was surprised. Man, just a little
What did you
tidbit.
send it for, though?
I hope you all know what DAI is. Nope, you don't know what DAI is, do you? DAI. Oh my gosh, you guys don't know what DAI is?
Nope.
It's like okay, it's just like like the second largest market cap like stablecoin.
Oh,
Fully decentralized.
Okay,
It's my credits. My credits are
Yeah, I was about to
DAI.
say, I know what that is.
I have
okay.
DAI.
Okay, sorry, I was like,
DAI. That's what.
no, I literally
Yeah,
said
yeah.
I literally paid this contractor in DAI, and he was like, I don't know what this is. Like, what is this? And I was like you can look it up. Like, you can see what it is, but
Oh, wow.
It's not technically legal tender, but
But I do think that we're coming up on our time here, because I
Yeah.
know my laptop is telling me that I'm at 5% or so. So with that said, I think it's time to wrap it up.
all right. Well, you guys got any
can you
final
confirm
comments?
that's really 5%?
I can confirm it's 9% on my end, but
Yeah, it's 9%, but that really means like 5% on my end, because I'm still like clicking around on all the websites.
true. Well, anybody got anything to add right here at the end before we wrap things up?
Stay tuned for next week's show. I don't know who we'll bring on. Maybe it's Elixir or Hyperplay. Maybe it's going to be the Gladiator show. Maybe it's content creators versus content creators. We don't know. We keep it saucy. That's what the show is all about.
Stealing
But I
my
don't know.
closing remarks. Dang it.
No.
That's my whole ending spiel.
Say,
Hey,
what do you got? 30 seconds to close it out. What do you want to tell the crowd?
I'm just doubling down on my open call to box Spike and represent any launcher in that fight. So if you guys want to make that happen, let's do it.
Sorry, Dev. I'm going to put my money on Spike on that one.
Bring it.
I haven't seen both of you side by side,
I
but
chose
I've
Spike.
seen some pictures, and
I'll let you
Spike's a pretty
know.
big dude.
I'll let you know when Spike saw me. He looked me top to bottom, and he said, "I was hoping you'd be smaller."
Wow. You do realize this is a recorded show, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna make clips.
Open call to action, baby.
Wow.
You want to be saucy? Let's
Your
be
clothes
saucy.
are on, right?
Well, see, that's the beauty of clips, because you don't have the context. So all we're gonna have is him saying that Spike looked at him top to bottom and said he thought he'd be smaller.
Close or no close? He didn't answer it.
You had to be part of the Wolves Out party, baby.
This
Had
went
to
off
be
the
there.
rails in such a great way.
Oh boy.
Oh man, but that's gonna be a wrap for us, folks. This is another exhilarating episode of the Block Sauce, which is now coming to a close. But before we bid you farewell, make sure you guys give a huge thank you to all of our guests: Casey from Sedona, Jorge, and Adub from Soulbound. We appreciate you guys for taking the time to come out and hang out with us today. We also couldn't have done it without our amazing viewers and supporters who constantly give us our fuel and drive to bring you the hottest topics every week. And remember, the sauce never stops flowing. Stay connected with us on social media, like Jorge already took my thunder from. Over there on LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, and they do have a Threads account. ReNFT does have a Threads account, so make sure you follow us there too. That's gonna be it for today, sauce enthusiasts. Join us next time for another thrilling episode of the Block Sauce, where we'll keep the gaming flame alive and the discussion sizzling. Stay saucy and keep gaming in the exciting realm of Web3. Have a good one.